Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Tanya and I am a certified trauma-informed life coach. And in today's video, I want to talk about generational wealth. This kind of topic has been on my mind after seeing a really amazing Instagram post. I'm going to try to figure out how to put it on the screen somewhere here so you can read it as well. If I can get the tech figured out for that, future Tanya, let's hope you can work that out. But the post that was on Instagram said, growing up with parents who can regulate their own emotions is a less talked about form of generational wealth. Ugh, so true. This hits the nail on the head. And I absolutely love this take on generational wealth. It continues to read, if you didn't have someone who could see and hold space for your big feelings and co-regulate with you, you're likely still learning to navigate these skills in adulthood. You know, when we think of wealth, we often think of it as purely monetary, as purely having money. And it's such a one-dimensional perception of what wealth actually is, because it doesn't take into consideration a whole lot of other factors. And many of those factors are psychological and emotional. And most of the time, those psychological and emotional factors have a lot to do with what was modeled to us by our parents, particularly their ability to regulate their own emotions and also support us through co-regulation. And if you don't know what co-regulation or regulation means, it's the ability to hold and process your emotions in a healthy way. And co-regulation really involves when a caregiver is able to hold space for their child to express all kinds of emotions, whether they're happy or sad or irritated or laughing or crying, whatever the emotion is. The ability to co-regulate is a caregiver simply creating that container for that child to express itself to a point of completion, and to also support the child through being present with them through the experience, through simply being there, through simply being in that process with them so that they are more effectively able to move through the emotion, which is something that a child isn't really able to do on its own. They really need the caregiver to support them in processing and moving through the emotion. And what that teaches a child within that developmental stage is, there is someone here to receive me. There's someone here to sustain me, to support me through what it is that I am going through. And they become adept at the developmental skill to receive support. And this capacity to receive support, which is learned through the caregiver, this capacity to receive support is what it means to receive wealth. If as a child you were neglected and your caregivers weren't able to meet your needs or to be there to support you, that creates an imprint in the mind of a child that creates the belief that support isn't available. I am not able to receive support. I am not able to receive. Therefore, I must create everything for myself. I must take care of myself. I must go through it alone. I must process everything on my own. Support is not available to me. That is the imprint that is left on a child if they don't have caregivers that support them through, through containing emotions of all kinds. And it's so tragic and damaging because we don't realize that the ability to receive support is one, modeled to us in childhood, and two, that ability to receive support has everything to do with our capacity to receive money, receive emotional support, receive anything. Many individuals that struggle financially, much of the time, they have a problem with accepting help, with accepting support, with accepting and receiving in general. And, money, if you break it down, what is money beyond the physical thing that it is? It's support. It's security, it's support, it's stability, okay? It's the potential to do something through being supported. And when you break it down to its fundamental value and its energetic component, it sounds a lot like what you would be receiving through caregivers if they were really there for you, because that creates that perception that I am able to receive, I am worthy of receiving, I have proof and evidence that support and receivership is available to me. If this is not something you had as a child, it's so important to work on that as an adult, to understand that you deserve support, that you are worthy of receiving support. I know this has been a huge challenge for me, and a big part of my process has been trying to get comfortable with receiving help from unexpected places. I've always been a fiercely independent person, and I've had a lot of pride around being overly self-reliant, and I've also been broke for a lot of my life, and that hyper self-reliance and being broke really go hand in hand. And it was a game-changing moment for me to realize that I actually have the power, I have the control, I have the capacity to change that, to flip the script, to retrain myself to actually be okay with receiving help, with even, asking for help when I need it. Your ability to nurture this capacity to ask for help and to receive help directly correlates with your ability to receive income, to receive money. Now, another factor of this is holding and sustaining money, holding and sustaining wealth. This is another part of generational wealth that we might not be considering. You can make a lot of money, and there's a lot of people that have the ability to make a lot of money, but where they fall short and what keeps them broke or in debt is their inability to sustain that wealth. And this is another lesson that we learn through the generations that came before us and through what was modeled to us. The ability to actually sustain wealth has very little to do with whether you're bad or good at saving or investing, and has a lot more to do with worthiness, whether or not you feel worthy of your accomplishments, success, and achievements. If in childhood you were not validated for your value, if you were not recognized for your worth, if that was not affirmed to you, you have a very slippery sense of self-worth. And that translates to your ability to hold money. Because if you do not feel worthy of that wealth, it will vanish. It will completely disappear through a lot of subconscious processing and behaviors that are instilled and saturated in these core beliefs that I am not worthy or I am not deserving. And again, this is something that we learn through our caregivers. This is something that is modeled to us through our environment. And if we were not brought up with this generational wealth, with this generational wisdom and knowledge, we are going to be severely disadvantaged in our adulthood. So the reason I'm putting this out there is to really provide you a different perspective on wealth and on wealth creation and on wealth reception and on the ability to sustain wealth, and it not being completely about the pragmatic approach of earning and saving and investing. And mind you, that side is valid, and that knowledge is necessary, but there's another component that is, I believe, even more important, and that is the psychological, generational, emotional component that is passed down through us and that is modeled to us by our caregivers. And if those components of if those emotional components are missing, if you were emotionally neglected, or if your emotions were suppressed, or if you were not recognized or validated or nurtured, or if your parents weren't co-regulating with you or were not able to even regulate themselves, this will show up in your ability to hold wealth and receive wealth. So I hope this has been interesting for you. This is the tip of the iceberg when it comes to the psychology and the emotion behind wealth. If there's more you want to contribute to this conversation, let me know down in the comments below. We're in this time where we are so pushed to focus on the external, especially when it comes to money. And there's a different avenue. There is a different process that most of us aren't looking at. And that is within the shadows. It's within our subconscious, and it's within as well our generational inheritance, what we are inheriting from our caregivers, what wisdom, what knowledge, and what lack of wisdom and lack of knowledge is contributing to us being and staying in a disadvantaged position. So let me know if this landed for you, and if it did, do be sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I'm really excited to be bringing out a lot more content that is grounded and relatable and based on everyday life, but really taps into the energetic and emotional and psychological side of things, which I'm really a huge geek about. So if you are too, do be sure to subscribe to the channel so you can stay up to date with all the latest content. Until next time, guys, peace out.